What's up, everybody? We are live. The War Report back for another week. Hey, man, we don't have any stress this Saturday for once because our team ain't playing. We have a
That's
bye
right.
week this week, so we can just sit here and talk about all the rest of these teams that are going to lose. Somebody's got to lose the game, so I'm not wrong by saying that.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so let's just get to the preliminaries. Y'all already know that you can click like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Make sure you're locking in with us there. We are the War Report on Twitter and Instagram. We'll talk about that here in just a second. TW Report is the TikTok. We had an interesting thing happen this week because our player of the game was a popular player amongst all of Auburn fans. It was a young sophomore by the name of Bo Nix, happened to be a player of the game, and no one was happier about that than Mike.
My
He
G.
actually was
Read it and
lobbying for
weep.
that pretty heavily.
Read it and
He was
weep.
he was
I
one of the
want
top Bo Nix surrogates on.
I wanted Pritchett. I wanted Pritchett, but okay, we'll give Bo.
Nehemiah Pritchett had a really good
Oh,
game.
boy.
Thank you very much for that almost pick six that you had there. Christian Tutt actually had a touchdown for the defense. I don't know why he wouldn't have been a better option than Pritchett, but it's all good. Whatever. Um, Big Cat had an interception too, so he could have gone to Big Cat, I guess, if we just gonna give it to people who made some sort of play on the defensive side of the ball. But
Nah,
anyway,
Bo can get it. Bo
Bo,
can get it.
He's
Bo
such
can
a
get it.
hater,
Begrudgingly.
man. He's
Yeah.
a hater.
Begrudgingly.
but yeah,
Congratulations, Bo, on winning the War Report Player of the Week.
yeah,
We're
man.
so happy for you.
We are happy for you. We want to see it come to fruition again, where you throw for 300 yards and run for almost 100 yards, and
Yeah,
you
I'll
have
take
four
it every
total
week.
touchdowns. If
There
he
you
could
go.
produce that every week, he would literally be a Heisman candidate.
I'll
Those are
buy Bo Nick's jersey. I'll buy Bo Nick's jersey and wear it on the show.
Bo Nix. If you are watching this show, you heard it here first. Mike says that if you can produce an average of 300 yards per week through the air, close to 100 yards on the ground, and you can produce four touchdowns, he will buy one of your jerseys. I find it
Yeah,
hard to believe you will live
proudly,
up to that, but I
proudly,
think it's a
proudly.
safe bet.
Yeah, I'll go. I'll drive down to Auburn from Washington D.C. Buy a Bo Nix jersey, donate to Bo's favorite charity, uh, rescue a puppy, and then drive back to Washington D.C. I'll do all that.
You gonna put
He's got to do that
In
for
that
he's got
order.
to average that for the season, right? So
Yeah,
like
yeah,
his junior season, he needs to average that, and then at the end of that season, he'll do all of those things. Okay,
yeah.
that's what's up,
True.
Bo. The challenge has been issued right there.
Extended.
Good luck. All right. So anyway, so what are we feeling about on this bye week? How are we feeling about the team? Let's do some mid. We didn't talk about this in the pregame. I mean, excuse me, in the pre-show. But let's do some quick mid-season grades. Like we grade per game. Let's do some quick mid-season grades. Y'all want to do that? That sounds like fun, right?
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right, let's
yeah.
do
We can
that.
do some mid-season grades.
Let's start with how we feel. Let's just get the easy one out of the way. The special teams. What has the special teams play been like for Auburn this year? To the mid-season point, how do you feel about our special teams?
It feels like we haven't heard a lot from Anders Carlson this
We
this
have
year, right?
not kicked a lot
But
of field goals
field
this
goals,
year.
right? Yeah, field goals have not been a factor in our offense this year. It's strange, especially with a Carlson at kicker. So, yeah, I feel like the special teams has been really kind of like a B minus. Not good, not great, not bad. Just not costing us games
Mm.
yet. I mean, I know we almost gave. I know Carlson had to save us last week from a return for a touchdown, but at the end of the day, I think we've been pretty average on special teams. In any season where you're not talking about special teams a lot, you're probably doing okay, right? Like so.
Yeah, unless you have some sort of phenomenal thing where the kicker is just you know having some sort of epic season, then yeah.
Right, right. B for me.
Anybody else? Anybody else got a?
Yeah, I would say B minus. To Mike's point. I think our punting game has been fairly decent. We
It's
haven't.
been okay. Like So here's the thing about our punt game, right? Like we don't have one of those kickers that's got like an awesome leg where he's gonna. Who was that? The first week where we were against Kentucky, the kid was kicking it, 70 yards on the fly.
Right.
We don't have that kind of punter. But when we can get it into a decent range, he is a good short distance punter to get it down inside. Like we've had a lot of close calls and stuff that has landed inside the 10-yard line. This
We've done a
season.
good job of fielding those that are,
Right.
in that area. So
Yeah, I agree.
Just
B for me too.
your mic's a little low, B Will, if you can come up a little bit.
Oh, my bad. I'd say B for me too.
Yeah, so Anders Carlson is 8 of 9 this season on field goal attempts, 16 of 17 on extra points.
that's a quiet 16 of what now?
17.
Yeah.
Yeah, he missed that one. He missed one.
He's been a
Yeah.
quiet 8 for 9 this year. But
Yeah, very quiet.
His long is 47 yards. So, yeah. Let me look at the punting real quick and see if I can get numbers on punting. I don't see it on here. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's been B plus is cool. Nothing to write home about. Nothing definitely to be too upset about. We had I think I can only recall us going for 2 twice. We got it that very first time. We missed it another time. No, we went for 2 3 times. We picked it up twice, I think. So not too bad. All right, let's get to the stuff people care about. Let's talk about the defense. How do we feel like the defense has been thus far this season? I'll start with B. Will. Talk to me about defense. What are you grading our defense so far?
It was rough for that Georgia game. That Georgia game had me thinking it was going to be a long season, but I mean, they've turned the corner, man. Again, I know we've said this plenty of times, but the warm-up time that they usually get, they didn't get. They're looking better every week. We at least created some consistent pressure on the quarterback last week. Secondary was, I mean, the defense played lights out last week, but I also know that it was a freshman QB, hadn't seen a lot of reps. It was his first game on the road. I don't know how much we can take from our last 2 weeks performance on defense, which have been good. One was good and one was a great performance. When the teams that we played, even though they can both put up points, neither one of them are world beaters. I mean, Ole Miss can score with the best of them, but they can also be mistake prone. They don't have a lot of experience still for the stars on their team. So I'd say a strong B. I say a B. We've shown well against some teams that can put up points. And that's a good sign, but we still cannot consistently get to the quarterback and take them down. Hopefully that changes. Hopefully the Tennessee game next week shows us that we've taken that next step. I want those 3 picks against Garantano that Kentucky got. I want a couple of those, you know what I'm saying, to show that we're either getting that pressure and creating those fumbles, or we're fooling him because Steele's doing his job and we're getting some picks too. So I'd say B for the defense so far.
Cool. What you got, Mike?
I'm on the fence. Like, I think that we've improved. I'm with Brian. Georgia was concerning, right? Like, the way our defense played, it just really felt like, oh man, if they can't get it together and the offense continues to play like this is going to be a losing record season. Now I think we have a chance to be a solid 6-4, kind of closing out here, maybe 7 or 8 wins, depending on how offense plays. So, the defense, if they can, catch some breaks and get put in more advantageous situations like they were against LSU, they have a chance to be pretty good. But, we're pretty much in the bottom third of the league in rushing defense. We're giving up 155 yards a game on the ground, so that's not great. Passing defense, we're in the, again, this was surprising at the beginning of the year. We were actually, we saw that was going to be a strength of our team. The DBs, I think, have played extremely well, and we are 4th in the league in pass defense. Total defense, we're kind of middle of the pack, 6th in the league in total defense, allowing 389 yards a game. So like that's, in an all conference schedule, that's not a bad number in an all conference schedule. And they can improve on that number with the teams that we have left on the schedule. Bama might hurt our total defensive numbers, average a little bit. But there's room for improvement there. If you had checked these numbers 3 games in, it would have been a lot worse. They made up a lot of ground there. I thought so. Auburn is. Well, hold on, wait, time out. Did I say that right? Yeah, total defensive stats were 4th in the league. So yeah, I'm going to give the defense a B, right? Like I just think, if you had asked me 2 or 3 games in, it would have been a C minus. Right now, they've shown the improvement. I think they have a chance to still finish as a really good unit on the year. So my score reflects the improvement they've made since game 1, plus the room that I still feel they have to move between now and the end of the season. They get some legit tests, so it's not going to all be padded stats versus bad teams. Right. Like, we played Ole Miss, they're a high powered offense. We still got Bama on the schedule, depending on which Kellen Mond shows up. Right. We have a tough Texas A&M on the schedule for the last game of the season. So there's still some tests there. They got to pad their numbers against an Brennan-less LSU last week. I don't want to take anything away from them. I thought that they did what they needed to do, but at the end of the day, LSU's guy wasn't at quarterback, and that helped us. Right. To what extent, I don't know. I don't know that we wouldn't have won the game, but the defense definitely benefited from a freshman QB starting that game. So B for me. I expect to see more improvement. That's kind of been the hallmark of Steele's Auburn defenses is, they either start good and, hold on. They are very opportunistic when it comes to scoring defense and turnovers. We're starting to see more turnovers, which is great. They could finish the season in A. This defense has a chance to finish this season in A if we continue to force turnovers and we can get a big win here. I think holding Bama under like 35 points would be an A performance for me. Like, I don't know how y'all feel, but if we hold them under 35, I'm good.
Yeah, that'll be a miracle.
Yeah.
Bama is an offensive juggernaut this year. Caesar, what you got for the defense?
B minus for me. I think this is a defense that is starting to gain some confidence, particularly up front, as well as with the linebackers. They're starting to understand where they're supposed to be in terms of gap assignments, stopping the run. They were it was really dicey for them beginning of the season. We saw that a little bit with Kentucky. They got their legs up on them in the second half in that game. We all know what happened at Georgia. Where I started to get concerned, you guys are mentioning Georgia. I was getting concerned with Arkansas when I was seeing how well they were able to move the ball. That was kind of alarming to me with our defense. But we saw them begin to turn the corner. With South Carolina, as documented, our offense was putting our defense in bad situations. But when you talk about the Ole Miss, for us to slow down that offense, that high-powered offense on the road, was kind of like a turning point. And they did what they were supposed to do against an LSU team that was starting a freshman quarterback. Again, one of the things that has frustrated me during the Malzahn era, kind of, early on in the Malzahn era, we had this way of making either a freshman quarterback or a quarterback who's not that good look good.
Amazing.
And we didn't do that this past week. So it's a defense that I think is just like the offense starting to figure some things out. I don't know if it was an aberration, but I was excited to see Derek Hall begin to pressure on the end. Seeing Big Cat, who appears to be healthy, starting to play better. Like, we're actually getting that pass rush that we've been coveting for so long and wanting to see. And I think
TD Moultrie not getting as many snaps now. Yeah.
Right. So he so with all that we have in the backfield, like we have good, for us to play as much man as we do, for us to be fourth in passing defense is impressive. So with the D line beginning to kind of get a little bit of a swagger, a little bit of confidence, that's only going to help our defense out because we got good guys in the back who can cover and play in open space. So I think to these guys, to the previous points made, our ceiling is high for the defense, and it's encouraging to see them beginning to assert themselves a lot more on that side of the ball. So a B- for me.
Yeah, I think when I thought about this, I think I'm going to go B- as well. The defense has been respectable. They were, as we've all stated, they were looking a little shaky earlier in the year. With all of what happened in the Georgia game, they only gave up 26 points. A lot of that, was it 26? I'm not looking at the scores right now, but it was under 30 to
27
Georgia.
to 6 was the final score of that game.
Okay, so under 30 to Georgia. Georgia definitely called the dogs off.
Yeah.
But I still think that, you take away the Georgia game, which of course you can't really do that when you're talking statistically. And the defense has looked good absent of what's, like Caesar said, that Arkansas game. That's when I started to really like the red flag. Like, I didn't love what I saw in the Kentucky game. I hated what I saw in the Georgia game. And then I was like, I don't know. Our defense is really not doing what they need to do right now. Like, they're not the dominant group that we need them to be, specifically against the run, though. Like, specifically, our run defense was getting gashed often. And so, and it was really that front seven, when you're talking about not getting pressure and then you're not really playing on the other team's side of the line of scrimmage, getting penetration with your front four, and then your linebackers being out of alignment a lot. And then you lose KJ Britt, one of your best run stoppers. It was just like, there was just a lot of confusion back there early in the game against Georgia. We lost Smoke Monday early in that game. It was just like a lot of stuff where people were seeming like they weren't in a good place. Christian Tutt had not been the player who we thought he was going to be coming into the season. So just a lot of stuff. But then we got some guys back, Simpson back from injury, I think shored up a lot of things on the back end. So it allowed us to be a little bit more exotic up front. Marco Damio, an unheralded guy, he was coming in this year. Not unheralded. He was coming in pretty highly heralded out of junior college. It's supposed to be an elite DB to come and help. And he was hurt earlier in the season. So he's come in, he's helped out with the rotation, allowing McCreary to come and play a little bit more down, in the box. And he's been a great cover corner since he's been over there. So you've got, and that helped to soften the blow with Sherwood getting injured. So you can still have a formidable guy back there in the back end with Smoke Monday kind of captaining that. So B-, I think I would go in the same place for that for our defense. They're going to have probably a couple of tests, like Mike said, coming up this season. Alabama, absolutely. Texas A&M is going to test them. Depending on what Tennessee team comes to play, that could be a test. Mississippi State, we don't really know what to expect from them. If, game one at this point seems to be a product of LSU's defense more so than Mississippi State's offense.
Right.
And if Mississippi State can't run the ball, which they have not done well this season, I don't know how they manufacture points against us. So, yeah, defense should finish up pretty well. So B- there. All right, let's move over to the offensive side of the ball then and talk about what we have on offense so far this season, which has been fairly Jekyll and Hyde, but interesting to see what we have. I am going to start with the offensive guru, Michael Giddens.
F on everything. They failed. It's terrible. The worst offense in Auburn history. No, let me take that back. I immediately retract that statement. So I want to give them some credit here, but I want to put everything in context about where we're at this season offensively. Okay. Right now, like my grade for the offense is a C+, right? I think that arguably, even with the defensive strides we've needed to make with just marginal improvement from them, we're possibly a one-loss team sitting here, right? We deserved to lose a couple of the games that we had, if not for some officiating help. They've been, and the offense created most of those situations. They created most of those situations. So offensively, oddly enough, we are actually third in the league in total yards gained, which I find that stat mind-blowing. The only teams that have gained more yards than us are Ole Miss and Alabama.
was about to say it's got to be Alabama. I'm actually surprised we've gained more yards than Florida. That's surprising.
Yeah.
Is that because they haven't played as many games?
Yeah. Now, yeah, right. Florida has some games canceled, but right now, as it stands, right, we are third in the league. So this number may be more like fifth or sixth, but just throwing that out there. Conversely, though, if you think about it, why that stat doesn't hold water and where the numbers kind of show up. We are ninth in the league in total points and points per game. Right. So that stat kind of tells more of the tale of our offense. So being ninth in the league means that if your defense doesn't step up, there are 8 other teams that will beat you on a 10-game schedule. Right. I mean, there's a lot of potential losses there without, your defense outperforming your offense. Right. Like passing yards per game. It's not great. We are, again, bottom third of the league, right down there at ninth at passing yards per game, 234 yards per game. Everybody's outgaining us. And then for running yards per game, so this is the only reason they're not like a C- for me, right? Tank has completely changed the dynamic of our offense. Being able to run the ball and kind of get back to what we've done best traditionally over the last 10 years, which is run first, play action, opens up a lot of things. It gives Bo the opportunity to just kind of run around and make things happen. If the play breaks down, read option. We are sixth in the league in rushing, right? But I will qualify that the difference between us and the number 2 rushing team in the league is only 4 yards per game. So there's a lot of teams huddled between 2 and 6, right there between 171 yards per game and 176 yards per game. So if we had, this would be a solid B for me if we just scored more points, right? But that's been my worry with Auburn is just that no matter how our defense plays, we may not be able to score enough points to win. Like, even if our defense holds the opposing team to like 10 points, it's possible that we will score 6 and lose.
Right.
Like, that's why this offense is a C for me. Like, they still have a chance to improve on this. I think that they could finish the season a solid B+. But based on production through the first weeks, I can't really credit them with any wins, really, because we scored points.
That's a very factual statement. Like, how many games has our offense won for us?
Yeah, can we just say, hey, we played out of our minds offensively, so we won? No, we either played just well enough to win and the defense bailed us out, played terrible and the refs bailed us out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm bordering on this offense has been a disaster, right? Like, if it weren't for Tank Williams, so
yeah, I know who that guy is, but Tank Bigsby's been.
I'm sorry, I was thinking Seth Williams. I put our 2 best offensive players together into a single player.
Tank Williams. If that's what you were going for, that's a true statement.
Yeah, right. So I'm gonna refrain from any bow bashing and just say the offense has been a C all the way around. Tank has been the bright spot. Seth has had his moments where he showed that he's an all SEC receiver this year. I believe that. But again, the guy throwing him the ball is not an all SEC quarterback. He's in the bottom half of the league, what he does for a living. So C for me, they can improve.
That's funny. You're
not
not going to
do
do
any
much Bo
Bo
bashing,
bashing,
and then you
right.
proceed to bash Bo.
Yeah. That's a factual statement, though. That's a statistical statement.
So I'm actually going to be right there with you with C. If you had asked me this 2 games ago, like absent of the last 2 games, I definitely would have been closer to a C- D+ range for our offense. We have seemed to find an identity that I am certain teams are now going to try to key on. I am glad that, the emergence of Tank in the last, we'll say 4 games, the last game he didn't have the 100 yards, but in the last 4 games, has caused defenses to play us differently. but it's also allowed for Bo to get a lot of easy throws that make his stats look better, right? Because they're keying in so much. We got to stop the run. We got to stop the run. We can't let Tank get loose. And they showed in the LSU game. Okay, great. That means we're just going to hit these guys on the outside for a little quick stuff, and we'll nickel and dime our way down the field. And then once we spread you out, we're just going to run it again, right? And so a lot of that is game planning and coaching. And some of that is terrible defenses that we're playing against. But you can't deny the productivity that's starting to happen on the offense. As the comment said from Anthony here, what I'm super encouraged by is how much better our offensive line is playing. Our offensive line, even in the games where we struggled offensively, was not the problem.
Right. And Tank's play has kind of been a byproduct of that, right? Like,
yeah, the run game having more yards, just in general. Like now, Tank gets a ton of yards on his own, but him not having to start from someone being in his face the minute he takes the handoff, he gets a head start into a tackler. That's a bad proposition for the other guy trying to tackle him, right? Like if he's got a head of steam, he's just hard to bring down. He's not an easy guy to bring down. So offensive line has been able to create holes, and he reads blocks really well. He sets up blocks really well, and he breaks tackles. So our run game is going to look a little bit better with him. DJ Williams was playing well, even while injured. Shivers was playing well before he got injured, came back still playing well, right? And so we've got a varied run game that we can have. We've got a couple of receivers out there that can do some stuff. The scheme has been a lot better. Offense is at a C right now for me. Again, you would ask me this 2 games ago, I'd have had a much different score. We're trending in the right direction. Mississippi State is coming up. We'll see what we'll do after the bye week with them. We've got an entire week to prepare for whatever they want to do air raid wise. So hopefully we'll be able to shore up that pass rush and really make that a difficult game. But anyway,
to your point about Tank, though, Tank can finish second in the league in rushing this year as a true freshman. Najee Harris is the only person I think he can't catch because he's a solid, over 200 yards ahead of him right now as it stands. But, there's only about 20 yards that separates him from South Carolina, Kevin Harris at South Carolina, from being the second leading rusher in our league so far. So, he's got an opportunity, to really stand out this year.
Which is crazy considering he wasn't even the starting tailback at the beginning of the
season. Right. Imagine if we had played him, he might be leading the league in rushing, right? So,
or if we had decided earlier in whatever, like playing him and then feeding him, right? Like if we decided we were just going to this is what we're going to do offensively, that's going to be our identity from game one, he probably would be closer to the top of that list.
If they had had a real summer workouts, he might have started game. I mean, he might have
been in the rotation at least.
Right. Like if he had gone through, I don't know if Tank enrolled early. Gone through spring. So if he did, he would have gone through a spring as well too, which definitely would have helped solidify him as the guy, right? Like, so that those missing reps definitely hurt their trust in starting him.
Right.
Game one.
B. Will, what you got on the grades there for the offense?
I mean, a lot of what y'all have already said, but I guess it really just comes down to whether you take what our last 2 games have been and you kind of, does that make you hopeful? Or do you take what our first few games were and does that kind of drag you down? It's really hard to trust that Bo Nix has turned the corner because he's Bo Nix. And I guess
my grade does not indicate Bo Nix turning a corner, by the way. But
right, it's
just based on what he has done, right? But see, okay, so the reason I say you could say, all right, we're gonna be we're a C. Anywhere between C- and C+ you'd get because he looked absolutely terrible. Like him at South Carolina cost us the game. The quarterback 100%. Is, of course, the majority of the offense, unless it's 1965. So he cost us South Carolina. Him alone cost us South Carolina.
Sure.
And it's really hard for me to say, after South Carolina, I would say this offense is a D. And we scored 6 points against Georgia. And then he cost us a game. Maybe he didn't cost us the Georgia game. I don't think we win that if he has an okay game, but we needed an excellent quarterback to win the Georgia game, and we didn't have that. I might say something after the the LSU game, the post game, and it was specifically that yeah, he looked good, but we just got done playing the two worst defenses we're gonna play all season. And if I'm a betting man, and I am a betting man, it is really easy to predict the outcome when you play somebody you know is bad. Like I'm watching the roads like, okay, instead of picking the best teams to beat everybody by a certain margin, if
Right.
you sports bet, what you really do is pick the worst teams to get whooped because that is a more consistent bet than the best teams just slaughtering people. Like Ole Miss kept up with Alabama. I seriously doubt people bet, that Ole Miss was going to cover. You see the line. You bet Alabama to win because they're a dominant team. And right now, we can guarantee LSU is going to be bad on defense for the foreseeable future. We thought that. We were all skeptical because LSU always beats us, right? So we were like, I don't know, LSU, or Auburn, but it's going to be close. When really, if we were just looking at how bad LSU is, maybe we should have all said, 2 possessions at least for Auburn because they're bad. And so
Sidebar B. Hey, just sorry to step on you. Y'all know Bo Pelini's making $2 million a year.
Bo Pelini?
Bo
I can kind of see
Pelini.
that.
Not and he's so when we're talking about stealing
Bad
money,
hire.
we're talking about stealing money. You
Just sidebar. I didn't know if y'all knew that, but for
Bo
what he's doing
Pelini's
at LSU,
defense
that's an
is
easy 2
easily
mil.
one of the
But
worst ones in the league, and he's getting a lot of money to have to produce a very terrible defense.
he followed up that Joe Brady hire with a dud.
He didn't
Yeah, Joe Brady was going to be a tough act to follow, regardless.
he
I mean,
was.
yeah. So, let's be real.
That's a dud.
But I'm
Yeah.
going over all that in my head, right? And I'm trying to make sense of. It's really easy to get encouraged by what we just saw, but if we just think about who we played and who Bo Nix looked good against, I would say, Brian, don't fool yourself. You played the worst defenses you're going to play. Don't get encouraged by that. And I don't want to give Bo Nix too much credit for looking good against terrible opponents, two terrible defenses. So what I'm going to say is, just like I would if I was grading out anybody's performance against somebody, if somebody just mud stomped LSU, do we think more of Mississippi State because they killed LSU? No, it just took a few weeks to shake out that Mississippi State is bad. LSU was just worse. And now I'm really like, man, I don't think he's gonna be good when we play good defenses. I'm scared to death. I'm scared to be excited about the team and about the offense because I feel like we're gonna play not good, but a hungry Tennessee team and lose the game because they're just going to be just defensively good enough to make him look bad again. And then we're going to be right back in the same situation with him and his mistakes, the type of mistakes that he's making. So I'm going all the way around the world to say, I think we're a C-. I know that was a lot to say.
I do want to add though. I think if you're going to judge by the teams that we played, right? And I think it's fair to look at who we have left on our schedule and see where those defenses are at if we're projecting performance, right?
And that's what my point was going to be is like my score was not necessarily a projection of what I feel like we're going to finish the season at against who we've got left. It's really just more so grading what we've seen so far. If I were trying to project, I probably would give a whole different analysis.
Right.
But it's not unfair to say, yeah, that's a little clouded by the last 2 games. But also, again, that is
but it might hold.
Heavily, but for me, that's heavily weighted about the offensive line and our run game. And what that allows for our offense to be able to do and be multi in the way that we attack defenses. If they have to try to stop the run game, that allows for Bo Nix to get easier completions, where the load on him isn't making a bunch of 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 9s down the field. But if they are 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9 down the field, the defense is so concentrated on other stuff so much that maybe he hits a couple more of those. What I'm going to be looking for, if we're going to talk about projections going forward, is what his 3rd down completion percentage is going to be going forward in the season.
Right.
Because that's really going to be the telltale sign. Because are we getting him in 3rd and manageable situations, and he's able to complete a high percentage of those? That's really, I think, the formula for Auburn's success, because it's going to have to be ball control, and it's going to have to be a situation where you're not asking Bo Nix to be a hero. You're just asking him to make the right play right here. If it's not there, throw it away or go try to get it with your legs. I don't need you to be, video game numbers. I just need you to not make the stupid play here. Anyway, Caesar, what's your rating?
I'm gonna go C plus, just because um, I've been very pleased with the O line and how they progressed this year. Um, I've been pleased, of course, with Tank. That goes without saying, and I like that we got some options, at receiver, which we always have had outside of Seth Williams. But I like to see how they've been utilizing some other guys, getting them involved in the offense. Schwartz, Stove, those guys getting the ball.
Got to give a
I
shout
like
to
the fact,
McGee's just randomly, just because I like a big guy that's just out there
yeah,
mauling
yeah,
people.
like we're starting to use him. So
Yeah.
I like the fact that because of those two things with the run game and the O line, we've been able to establish an identity on offense. To me, that's what bumps up the score of the offense to me, or the grade of the offense, because we now have something that works. I don't care if it's Ole Miss. I don't care if it's LSU. We were struggling to move the ball against a Kentucky. We were struggling at times. You know what I mean? So to see us find something that actually works that we can build off of, and now we're seeing Bo using an RPO, and Bo, again, for what it's worth against LSU, Bo started to look comfortable because now he's not having to drop back and sit in a pocket. Now Gus or Chad has him doing a read option. Like he can either keep it, like he's now he can leave the pocket by design now. You know what I mean?
Which they did a lot of that. They rolled the pocket a little bit
Yeah.
against LSU. This is the thing, and we'll get into coaching in a minute. I'll leave that comment, put a pin in that, and come back. But go ahead.
But now we're not like, man, why is Bo leaving the pocket? Now it's by design. They're playing to what Bo's tendencies are. And I think, score aside, I'll be curious to see what adjustments this coaching staff makes when teams start to try to take some of that away.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, I like what the adjustments they've done to make him comfortable, and it showed. It showed in his play last week. He looked more comfortable and more sure of himself in the offense, instead of just sitting back there doing something that he's never done before in his playing days. But all that being said, I think the offense has grown by leaps and bounds compared to week 1, week 2. They actually have an identity. They know how they want to attack teams. They're not asking Bo to throw the ball 40 times a game now, which is awesome. And we're building off of Tank. Keeping him healthy. I hope DJ can get healthy over this break so that he can relieve the first two guys in Shivers and Tank. But yeah, I want to see us begin to build more off the running game, and hopefully that can set up and create opportunities for Bo to take advantage of the defense cheating down to stop that.
Let me ask a question just about offensive production, right? Like, so if we are expecting that we're going to take a little bit off of Bo's shoulders, fewer throws, just ask him to kind of manage, make a throw here or there. For me, the measurement, because you mentioned something about third down conversions. For me, the measurement is just completion percentage, right? Like if you're going to throw less, you need to complete passes as a higher clip, right? And right now, he's 13 out of 15 quarterbacks that have played in the SEC in completion percentage. So realistically, everybody's better than him.
Yeah,
sure.
Accuracy.
But so what I'd be interested to see, though, is since the emergence of the run game, has his completion percentage gone up?
I think it has. Well, I mean, I think he's gotten better.
Well, so what I'm saying, because he's throwing the ball less.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm trying to see is I get the defenses aren't as good, but the issues with those defenses that we were seeing were really against the run, right? Like, Ole Miss can't stop the run, like they just can't.
Right.
LSU just can't stop the run, right? We didn't run crazy on LSU. Like, we had a decent run game. Bo was our leading rusher against LSU.
Yeah.
It was a very balanced attack against them. And so that's really more so what I want to see is I want his throws to be under 30, really under 25. And he needs to be hitting somewhere between 18 to 22 of those, right? I want to see that kind of production from him. But again, for me, the big thing of why I said specifically third down is because that's going to be your money down on which he needs to make the right decision and he needs to be accurate with the ball. He can miss early and we can make up for that. What we can't do is miss on the down that's going to extend the drive, right?
Right.
And so I
Right.
want to
So-
see what that looks like from him.
And
So-
something else I want to mention too is not even so much more Ole Miss than like LSU. Bo got in a rhythm,
Mhm.
and I think when you get in a rhythm, like I know it's not always a guarantee with him. We've only seen it really once since he's been playing at Auburn. But when he gets in a rhythm, like I think those completions begin to improve. Like he feels better in the offense. Like he's not pressing. You know what I mean?
B. Will says that all the time. He's a street shooter, right? He's
Yeah.
J.R. Smith. He's like he's
He
going
is
to be
a
terrible and he's going to miss everything, or he's going to be like zeroed in and he can't miss. It seems like.
If we're out of a rhythm of sorts, look out. It's gonna be pretty rough. But getting him in a rhythm is to me, and again, it starts again up front, Tank, running game. That gets him in a rhythm. He pulls the ball a few times, picks up a first down, he leaves the pocket, picks it like those things kind of get him in a bit of a rhythm to where he's able to settle down. But if he gets behind the chains, throws an incompletion, it's just like, Lord, here we go. You know.
So over against the last two terrible defenses, right? He's averaging about 75% completion percentage
Right.
of our last two games. But his season average is 60. So that's how bad he was in the first
Prior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Like so, yeah, I don't know what you take from that statistically. You know, if we're all acknowledging, okay, we knew those defenses were going to be bad and give up a lot, but he did throw the ball less and complete at a higher percentage,
Right.
but not against a bunch of pressure. And he made some plays with his feet, and two of our last four games are against defenses in the bottom half of the league in total defense. So he may be able to pad his stats a little bit more against Tennessee and Mississippi State, right? And then have a tougher time against Texas A&M and Alabama. So the real test will be Texas A&M, Alabama. It doesn't mean he can't have a hiccup, right, or continue to blow it out versus the other two teams. But I mean, essentially, that's what I'll be looking at.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on then to the coaching here. Let's try to keep this one short. What do we got on coaching? I'll start with you, Caesar.
I'm gonna go with a B plus overall. I think the coaching has been trying to defensively, they've been working best with what they got. This Steele is pretty established. He knows his guys. A lot of it was just his players catching up. I think the why it's a B plus for me overall is that on offense, just trying to figure out who is so many moving parts, right? New O-line, new offensive coordinator. You basically have a second-year quarterback who plays like a first-year quarterback. Like trying to put all that together, it took a bit of filling out without a spring. And there was some game plans, ideas, the way they wanted to attack just did not fit Bo's skill set, and we suffered for that and key points. And so I think for them to kind of figure out as things are going on, I think we've been grading the coaching on the offensive side pretty well the past two games, and I think that has kind of helped the overall coaching score. I think the defense has done well in their game plan, and I think the offense is starting to catch up. The players are starting to respond, so I give them a B plus.
B. Will, what you got?
I give them a. Wait. Gus Malzahn is still our coach.
That's a fact.
Okay.
Accurate.
That hasn't changed.
Our DC.
Mm-hmm.
I have the utmost respect for Kevin Steele and the improvement I've seen. Ooh, can I split the coaching between offense and defense?
I'll give you that one.
You can split it, but then just give me the average after you do that.
All right. Coaching defensively, we held Ole Miss to a I don't think it was a season low. Wait, did we?
28 points. We had them 28 points.
Lowest they scored this season?
I'll tell you right now. The lowest they scored this season was 21 points versus Arkansas in the loss.
Okay.
So their second lowest total.
Can't take that away from Arkansas. But,
Actually, make mine a B. I'd say make mine a B.
okay. So I would give the defense an A minus just because I know we don't have the just stalwart on the defensive line, but we've seen improvement with pressure, with run defense, and the linebackers are getting better. We're down our best defensive player, and we're getting better, and that's encouraging. So I would give them a minus on the defense. Now, we at the beginning of the year, we're looking at how bad Bo is, and we're all like, are they coaching him? Are they telling him the things that we can see? Because none of us coach football and we see this stuff. So aren't they telling him that? And now he's starting to do it. So I want to give them credit, but I also want to I don't like Gus Malzahn, man. I don't like that dude, man. I don't like him. I'm afraid that he's gonna win 7 games this year and be here another year. But man, he chose Chad Morris. Offense is looking better and more diverse than it's looked in a while. I gotta give top to bottom coaches a B plus, man. They have, with what they had to work with to start the season, they've done better almost every week outside of that jump from Arkansas to South Carolina. That was a rough week. But other than that, man, I say B plus on coaching, man. We're looking up, and I think that's a credit to the coaches.
Okay. What you got, Mike?
I'm going with a B minus overall on coaching. I mean, I know they get a B minus for me in particular because at the end of the South Carolina game, the mismanagement of the end of the halves to me was just a bigger factor in us losing that game as Bo's play and the numbskull things he did, right? Like, now we put a lot on Bo, but you know, him to some extent, him not understanding situational football at the end of the game, I put on coaching as well too, especially when you call a timeout and then you have one more play and then your quarterback goes in and runs around until the clock is done and then gets tackled in bounds, right? Like on 4th down, you're coaching, right? So otherwise, I would be there with you guys overall as a B plus, right? Like I'm with Brian on the defense. You know, Steele has just figured it out, but defensively, I feel like they played well enough to keep us in every game with some sort of equal production from the offense. So the offense is what's dragging my score down. What's keeping it from being a C is that the offense has actually made improvement on the O-line and the run game. You know, so those are the things that are encouraging. And, you know, we've gotten decent production from these receivers when Bo has been able to hit them, right? Like, you know, I've seen some encouraging things out of Stove. You know, I've seen, you know, he's made plays at times, big catches, right? He's not making a ton of catches. He's not making them in volume. When he does get his hands on the ball, he seems to be able to, you know, make plays. Schwartz, obviously, you know, is still a game breaker if you can get him the ball. Seth Williams is all SEC, right? Like, you know, B minus with no fall and no non-conference games, no cupcakes to figure anything out, just jumping straight into it. I feel like that's a good score, you know, would be a good score for any team at this point in this half here. So yeah. B minus.
I'm actually going B minus as well. I didn't think the coaching early in the season was great. I love the adjustments that I've seen of late. Specifically, what I said I was going to come back to was the way it's not just how the plays have been called; it's the scheme in which they've attacked. Right, like we talk often about Bo Nix and his tendency to drift. Right, and so what it seemed as if they decided to do is like, okay, well, we'll just make that a part of the game plan. We'll just run plays that allow him to get outside of the pocket automatically. We're going to make him more into a run threat quarterback. We're going to use what he's got, right? As opposed to trying to fit this square peg into this round hole. They were just like, you know what? Make a square hole, guys. all right, he's clearly not getting this, and that's not necessarily a ding to Bo. Like, you are what you are as a quarterback, right? Like, he is not going to ever be in. He could be. I was going to say he's not ever going to be a Heisman caliber quarterback. He could be for a college offense if they scheme it the right way and put the right kind of stuff around him.
Right.
So I think he has the physical tools to do it.
Right.
But he needs to be placed in the kind of offense that allows him to do those sorts of things, right? Like, he needs an all-world running back in his backfield to take some pressure off of him. He needs a solid offensive line, and he needs that RPO type of offense. We've got those things developing around him, and they're starting to figure that out and put that around him. Defensively, I think that we've been solid all year. I don't think we've been great, as indicated by my scores. I think Kevin Steele has really been he's been taking a very patchwork and young and mostly just average group of guys, like no one who is stellar out there, and turn them into a decent defense. And that's to be commended by his entire staff, right? Like, there are
Right.
people who are on our offensive staff who I could say, I'm not so sure this guy is doing anything for us offensively right now. I'm not going to call any names specifically, but we've talked about those people on this show before. I'm not sure what they're doing to contribute to the overall success of our offense. Our wide receivers still are some of the worst blocking wide receivers that I've ever seen attempt to block. That is a coaching issue.
If the offensive line and the motion of the play hadn't already done some of the work, Tank would be out there just dead to rights on someone when he wants to break outside.
Right.
And they be out there like, okay, I'm done. Like, man, come on, man.
Yeah, so our wide receivers don't block well, which you can usually tell by like average run. Like, when you have long runs, that usually means that two things are happening. Your offensive line is getting to the second level and creating, space in the middle, and then they're getting to the second level to stop that second level defender and then it's just your running back against a DB. And Tank against a defensive back, I'll take him 9 times out of 10, unless that guy's Derek Stingley. I don't know, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, there's not a lot of guys in this league who are going to tackle him one-on-one if he gets to the third level of your defense, right? But we don't see that often because we haven't had the offensive line to produce the second level stuff. The other portion of that that creates long runs is stuff along the edge with good blocking by receivers, or those sweeps that will produce those long runs. We haven't seen a lot of that because the wide receivers just don't block well, so that's a problem for me, and that's a problem of coaching, I think. I think there's also an issue of coaching. There's a couple of times that you can see where people will just clearly just not be in the right position where they're supposed to be on.
Right.
Offense. Like, you can see the breakdown on, this is clearly where this play was supposed to go, didn't go that way, right? And that is a mental breakdown. Some of that's on the players, but some of that's on coaching as well, and preparation. Game plans have gotten better, but they were really bad at points earlier in the season, specifically offensively. So I'm going to go B- overall for our coaching. But that's trending upward because I probably, again, defense has been okay, getting better. Offense was bad, getting better. So B- trending in a positive direction. All right. That is it for our grades for the season thus far. Please, this is a question I think is interesting to ask before we get into the games for this weekend. Do we think that we are going to run, that we can? The question is, can we run the table, not will we? So it's a little bit different of a question. Shed being hurt has not helped either. That's true. Shedrick Jackson's the best blocking receiver.
He's our
that we
best
have.
blocker.
He can't catch the ball. Like, he's out of the.
His hands were made for blocking.
For sure. I think so. I can really only recall about 6 targets, but I can only recall 2 catches. Right. So he's not getting targeted a lot, but he's definitely.
Let's be fair here. The games he was in were Bo's worst games. In the last 2 where we've had.
But some of those drops were like
Bo put one right on.
Yeah.
Like,
Bo put one right on. I don't care who throws the ball. If it comes to you, you gotta catch it.
Just like wide open.
That's literally one of the only people that Bo Nix, when he was throwing it to, he was like, every time Bo gets a good one, he was ripping it to Shed, and Shed was like, man, what are we doing? I'm blocking. I'm a blocker. It's not my game. I'm a blocker. Throw it to that dude and I'll block for him.
I think that's what made the drop so bad, is that I think Capers early in the season one, he had a bad drop too. Is like Bo needed somebody to help him get going, and he actually put it on those receivers. And no, but yeah.
Agreed.
But yeah, so can we run the table was the question. Does anybody want to?
No.
Yeah, I don't think
this
so.
is easy. This is not a long discussion here.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, it's
drop
not
one.
outside of the realm of possibility. I'll say that.
So I've been very staunch that Texas A&M is mid, and we were going to beat them.
Mm-hmm.
I then realized that we play them the week after Bama. That putting it all on the line against Bama and then having to come back and play somebody else, I don't like that prospect. Between Georgia and Bama in the normal years, we at least had that like cushion week where we
Right.
that kind of scares me now. I think if we had a week after Alabama and then played Texas A&M, we beat them. I'm waffling on that now, but it's not because Texas A&M is not mid. Texas A&M is the most mid of the mid teams. Jimbo is a fraud, but I don't want us to really have to play anybody the week after we play Bama, which is why the Georgia SEC championship game in 2017 didn't surprise me that much.
Right.
I mean, come on, that's a big ask right there. So I am waffling on that. That's just a little side note.
We could lose. I mean, we're not a lock against any of the teams left on our schedule. If you ask me,
Mississippi State, yes, we
right?
are. Yes, we are.
I can't say that because our offense is prone to put up 6-point duds, right? Like
against a very good defense. Our offense
right.
do that.
They're middling, but like I'm just saying, I don't trust the offensive production to say that we could absolutely not, score less than a bad team, right? So like
Mississippi State ain't been scoring very much of late, though.
I hear you, but they'll shock you sometimes. I feel like
This
if
season,
you're bad, it can be worse. Yeah,
It's got to be more than once to be sometimes.
I was about to say LSU is the only team that they have shocked this year, so I don't know. Their offensive production has been terrible. It's been terrible since week one. I mean, I'm not saying I'm trusting in our offense to like put up another 40-something points, but I'm saying Mississippi State's not looked good. Anyway, we got a lot of time to talk about Mississippi State. The answer to the question, I don't think that we can run the table, honestly. We're going to drop at least one of those games for the remainder of the season. And as Mike said, every game is losable, honestly. But we've got to do some better things. What if the offense finally figures it out? That's why I'm not. Hold on, let me see this. What if offense figures it out? That's why I'm not liking this bye week. Oh, because we had a good momentum going. That's true.
Yeah, we talked about this. B said that. B said this last week. He said, hey, I'm worried that they might lose some momentum on this bye week. But honestly, I think we needed the bye week to get a little bit healthier anyway.
Right.
So.
And hopefully that's going to give the offensive line some time to like really get their they kind of got thrust into this new offensive line, did well, but maybe another week to kind of figure out like, okay, let's make sure we've got our assignments correct on this kind of stuff. And hopefully they put a few more wrinkles in now that they've shown some of what this new tooled offense is going to look like. So I think it's a decent time to have the bye week. It's right kind of in the middle of the schedule. But anyway. To answer the question, I don't know about running the table. We still have a couple of tough games ahead of us, but we'll see. All right, in these last few minutes that we got, we're going to kind of hit these rapid fire. We're going to go through the games that are coming up this weekend and talk about those. We're going to start at the bottom of the pack with the worst of the worst, and we will start that with Vandy versus Mississippi State.
Yeah.
This needs to be on SEC alternate, bro. This is terrible.
Can Mississippi State score more than 15 points against Vandy?
The ESPN matchup predictor has Mississippi State 87% to win this game.
That's because Vandy is more terrible than Mississippi State is.
I'm going to go
Mississippi State. Okay, so Mississippi
This is the Cellar Bowl right here.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'll give Mississippi State this one. Definitely.
I'm gonna give Vandy one, man. Why not? Vandy. Get one, Derek Mason. Keep your job, man.
He ain't keeping it. Mississippi State.
Nope. Mississippi State.
Yeah, has Mississippi State won? They've won one game this year, right? Vandy is not won anything.
0-4.
Yeah, I'm gonna call Vandy. I'm gonna go with B. Will. I'm gonna say Vandy's gonna win this game.
All right.
Yeah, just
Why not?
you know,
You know what I'm
I don't
saying?
I don't have
Let 'em
any
get one.
logical reason other
Me
than
either.
I want to see my guy get one. But
Get
that's
I
one.
it.
want to see him too, but you know, you
Yeah, well,
you
yeah.
you gonna learn on
Yes,
Saturday.
yeah.
Like
I have zero confidence in this pick. This is just kind of like one of those. I'm
Mississippi
throwing it out
State
there.
has at least been competitive in some of the games they've been losing in,
Right,
whereas
right.
Vandy has just been laying over and getting drubbed. So
Yeah,
I just yeah,
any given Saturday. All right, Tennessee traveling to Arkansas.
This is actually an interesting game.
it is.
Uh, right, and I'll be actually interested in this game. Yeah, y'all know I don't really like the transitive property of you beat the team that we played and all that stuff, right? But I will look to see what kind of production Tennessee can put up against Arkansas's defense, right? It's at Arkansas. It'll tell us a little bit about like what we're in for. I like Arkansas in this game. Like
Same
Arkansas.
here, Mike.
Actually,
All
I'm
right.
picking Arkansas too. That's crazy
All
because I
right,
thought
that's
I was.
four then. Let's go.
Yeah,
Y'all talking
they've been a tough out for a lot of people this year.
Yeah, I actually thought everybody was gonna go UT, and I was like, I was gonna be
This is
the
a
one.
trap game, boy. This is
Yeah.
a dangerous game for UT, and
Yeah.
I don't think they pass this test.
All right, moving on to the next one. 7th ranked Texas A&M facing South Carolina in Columbia. What do we have here?
So I'm iffy on this one, right? Like
Now,
conventional
Muschamp has
wisdom,
already had his game he wasn't supposed to win.
right? He might be good for a second one, but like if Kellen Mond keeps playing like he's playing, I like Texas A&M definitely. But I'm not putting it completely past Muschamp to come up with some kind of defensive scheme to kind of limit mine. So, but I'm gonna go with Texas A&M in this one, possibly in a close one.
Teams, I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
But no, that's it. That's all I got.
What we know about South Carolina is that you can definitely move the ball on them, and I don't think Texas A&M, even with whatever Muschamp cooks up, I think A&M will have success moving the ball. I mean, we saw what it came down to with us. It's just that we didn't protect the football.
Right.
If A&M protects the football, they had that. To me, I don't think they have much to be concerned with South Carolina.
Right.
So yeah, I'm gonna go A&M here.
I'm going to reluctantly go A&M, and it's not because South Carolina can't make it competitive. A home game, I think they stand a much better chance of playing up to their potential, which is just decent. But if they've got any chance at rattling an offense that has been in motion, that has been running the ball, that's been balanced, Mons look good. But man, Muschamp can get a defense to just play outside of themselves for a game or two, and they didn't really have to do it against us, even though people tried to give them that credit. No, Bo Nix gave them that game, so I don't think we've seen that play outside of themselves game that we were expecting from Muschamp. But I think this might be it. I don't think it'll be enough for them to win it though, because their offense really doesn't have anything special on it. That one wide receiver, yeah, but their quarterback is just serviceable. So,
Right.
A&M in a close one.
I'm picking South Carolina. Let's move on.
Let's see. All right.
All right, it's good. It's good that we cover both teams. That's good.
All right. This is easily the game of the week in the SEC this week. Georgia
Yes.
heading to Florida. This is always a heated rivalry as well. Who are we looking at to take the W?
This is at Florida.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're not doing the neutral site thing.
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if they're doing the neutral site thing. I thought when I was looking at this, it said
They usually will play this in Jacksonville, I think.
it might be.
Yeah, they quit the neutral site thing, didn't they?
Hold on.
No, it's usually in Jacksonville, but
That's what I'm saying.
The venue and thing going on may have been a little complicated, so they may just be doing home. I'm not sure.
This game is at TIAA Bank Field.
So it is neutral.
Is that Jacksonville's?
Jacksonville.
Stadium?
Yep,
Okay.
it's in
So
Jacksonville.
yeah,
Okay.
so it's still neutral. So the at is a little deceptive. So what do we
Yeah.
know about? It really comes down to who we think is the
I
better
mean,
team.
it's still kind of a home game with it being in Florida, but it's a lot closer to. I mean, it's more of a neutral situation because Georgia in Athens. All right, but still,
So
Hmm.
Bennett has been definitely mid this season,
Right.
right? Like,
for
I
sure.
mean, and Georgia's defense, they had an aberration against Bama, but they are still, to me, the best defensive unit in the league. So it comes down to them versus Trask for me. What are they going to do there? Florida doesn't have much of a rushing game, right? They're like, I don't know, they're almost dead last in the league in rushing. So I'm gonna go with Georgia here in the squeaker.
Okay.
I'm not sure that Florida can produce enough offense to win this game, but I'm also not sure. Even though I don't believe in Bennett, but I don't think that Florida's defense is going to be able to do anything amazing against Bennett. He just needs to manage the game here, or just make sure he doesn't put his defense in too many bad situations. But I'm going with Georgia in this one.
Okay.
Yeah, we've seen how Bennett. I mean, Bennett number one is short. I think when they went into Tuscaloosa, we saw how he struggled against an athletic defensive line. Right. Luckily for him, he ain't got to worry about that this week.
Yeah, that's how he's going up against.
Right. So it's like it's strength on strength, weakness on weakness. And I think that when it comes down to it, you got to be able, with the way Kirby Smart's defenses are, you got to have the ability to do both. He likes to take away what you do well. So I'm pretty sure they're going to come up with a scheme to kind of minimize Trask and force them to try to get production elsewhere. And I think they're going to struggle. And on a neutral site, I like Georgia's chances. Again, all they got to do is ask Bennett to be as a manager. If they can
Right.
run the ball effectively, they don't have to put Bennett in a situation where he has to win the game. He can just manage the game. And I think I like Georgia beating Florida in this game.
I like Florida. They played with a little more passion last week. They got a week taken away from them from the COVID. If they were coming fresh off of the COVID bye, then I would pick Georgia. But they got a week to get some game reps in, to be frothing at the mouth and be ready for Georgia without kind of sleepwalking into that game. So I think Florida wins it. Georgia has looked exceedingly average on offense, more average every week that's gone by of the season, and I think it bites them this week.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go Georgia as well on this one. Am not a believer in Florida's defense. That's really the main reason why they have struggled this year to stop the run specifically. And I think that plays right into Georgia's hands. And Georgia, to me, has the better defense in this game. So give me the better defense versus the better quarterback, honestly. And I will take Georgia in this one. All right.
Y'all gonna leave me out here like this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just by yourself, man, chilling.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, that's it. That's all we got for this week. We will still have a Saturday show, so we're going to come back to you guys at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time on Saturday just to kind of kick it around a little bit more. What we will try to focus on is looking at some of the games that we'll talk a little bit about, maybe some stuff outside the SEC. We will also take a look back at how we have done traditionally this season with picking games. And we'll see how we'll see who's leading the scoreboard with picking games accurately this season. I can tell you it's probably not me because I have had an atrocious time picking these games. Anyway, we will be back at you guys Saturday. Make sure you are tuned in. As always, we are the War Report on Instagram and Twitter. We are the War Report, our TW Report on TikTok. And I'm doing this one last because this is the one I really want you guys to make sure you are doing. Clicking like and subscribe on the YouTube. Hit the bell to let us know, so you can know when we're going live. Get those notifications of us going live so we can get these numbers up. We appreciate you guys spending your Wednesdays and your Saturdays with us. It's been fun so far. We want to continue doing this. We want to kind of continue to bring you guys some new and fresh content. We got some other things that we're cooking up for you. So stay locked right here to the War Report. And again, we appreciate you as always.